What? I can't hear Aaron now. He's got issue.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It must be this, right?
It's got to be then. Yeah, it's got to be that.
Can I just keep using this?
Whatevs. Do it.
Is it working?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is it whack-a-duck?
This guy, man, you know what? This guy every time is the same thing. Well, last time wasn't. He's always fumbling around, trying to set his stuff up last minute. He's got all kinds of chords. He never get it right. I even bought him.
I don't want to hear it.
I'm not done telling my story. I bought him this fancy arm and microphone rig material so he could get nice audio. He's probably still in the box.
I don't like this at all. If Walt doesn't have to have a fancy mic, why do I gotta have a fancy mic?
Well, the further
cool. Aaron looks cool,
doesn't he?
Yeah, looks like Goose from Top Gun.
You're a goose.
He does look like Goose.
Talk to me, Goose.
Goose was not a Native American.
That we know of.
I don't appreciate it. Well, actually, isn't Goose Val Kilmer?
No. Goose was Goose. Oh yeah, Goose was Val Kilmer.
Isn't he supposed to be part? Isn't he supposed to be part something?
Well, he went to the stronghold.
Red Deer Table.
Yeah.
Effing Red Deer Table.
Counts for something. He drank Wakalapi with what's his name? Whole auntie. What's her name? I don't know. Is that actress?
Tusi?
Tusi, yeah.
Yeah.
Come in and have some Wakalapi.
You gotta throw that in there a little bit more.
Oh, okay. You do it.
Yeah, like Wakalapi.
Oh.
Well, I think Shandin actually sounded more like the lady on Thunderheart than you did. Well, hey man, before we start, let's say congratulations to Walt, man. He's a champion.
What? What happened?
Yeah, this weekend, he's a champion, man.
What did he do?
Look, he's chasing the dream.
What did you do?
Nothing.
He's chasing the dream.
Nothing.
No. You know, it's something when the Indian guy says, "Oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. Just went to the moon. It's nothing."
No, he went to Fort Hall.
To Fort Hall.
And won the 40 and over.
Basketball?
Right? Right? Walt, am I lying?
Yeah, 40 and over. 40 and over counts.
40 and over, no dunks. Dunks don't count.
Yeah, no layups.
No.
Walt went to head shake and then threw out his C5.
Dislocated the crud bag right here.
Yeah. Holy cow, man. What was your score? How did you do?
Well, I felt really bad our first game because I was reading the rules.
Yeah.
And one of the rules, like the mercy rules, was like 50. Anything over 50, it just, wherever you're at in the game, it just stops.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think the next mercy rule down was like after 4 minutes or at 4 minutes in the fourth quarter, if you're up 30, then mercy rule.
Yeah.
So our first game we played, we had we kind of combined with another team, from Montana.
Yeah.
Guys that we usually play against all the time, but it was kind of cool to kind of come together and play. But anyways, yeah, we ended up we scored 55 points at halftime. and And the other team only had 6.
That's a 50. That's a 50.
And it was kind of funny because at halftime, we thought like, oh, we only need one more point. Like, are they really going to stop the game? That kind of everybody was talking. And
yeah.
So right before it was their ball coming out of half, and one of the other players started talking to me, and he goes, "Hey, let us get to 10. Like, let us get to 10. Do you want to keep playing? But just let us get to 10." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And their first shot, they missed. I rebounded it, and it was just like reaction, just to go on a fast break.
Yeah.
We went on a fast break, and I passed it up to one of our players, and then he passed it. It was it's kind of a cool play. It was like a boom, boom, and he finished, and we hit 51 points, and they just kind of went, "That's game." They called
broke the treaty.
And then the guy that asked, like one of the other players, he asked after we 50 pointed him, they called the game. He just went, "Aw." But we felt bad. We're like, dang, maybe we should have just let him get the 10, at least. But
he says they felt bad, but they went in the back and they're like, "We still got it, bros."
No, it was a lot of fun, playing, but it was more really inspirational than anything. And motivational. Yeah, because like when you're younger, you don't think 40's old or 45 or 50, like you don't think that's old, but because it was the same weekend they were having the 50 and over, the 60 and over, and then the 65 and over.
Oh,
so it was quite the experience, because it was my very first time ever playing in the 40 and over tournament.
How old are you? Well,
40, young 40.
What? You're 40?
Same age.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a young 40.
Yeah. My time to shine in basketball is now. I'm gonna hit only 40 and overs now. I'm gonna be like the new kid at school. Everyone's gonna be like, "Who's this guy?" It's over.
It never started.
No, it's never too late.
No,
Shandin, I don't like this negative behavior coming from you.
Yeah. We got to build.
You're chock full of negativity today.
Got to build people up. All right, all right. I'm gonna build you guys up right now. I'm gonna build you up with this song, man. You ready for it?
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it. You might recognize this, and you might not. But you might recognize the style. I'm curious who these people are, because I still don't know yet. It's I just don't know. Come off our old reel to reel. Here we go. You hear that? Slow down. What do you think? That's an interesting song, huh? Did you recognize it?
Rock and roll. That's old school rock and roll right there.
It is, ain't it? You hear that one part in there where the tone kind of goes off?
Yeah.
And it kind of sounds like it slows down for a second. I thought that was just like a recording, like maybe the tape got stretched or something, but it does it consistently. And I never heard that like that before.
That is different.
Yeah, that's unique. Pretty unique. What kind of song do you think that is? I mean, I think I know because that kind of says on the reel earlier, but I'm wondering what does that sound like? It's quiz time.
It's quiz time.
Quiz time.
It's a blanket dance song.
Yeah. Provided the audio you just listened to is the following song A round dance song, B, a crow hop, C, a chicken dance song, D, either A or C, E, none of the above.
I'll defer to Walt.
I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say that's a warm-up song before Grand Entry.
So E, none of the above.
Yeah.
I think
that's one of them songs when you're recording and it's between sessions and you have to record 2 more songs for your CD.
For your CD, oh yeah.
We need 2 more songs, guys.
Yeah.
So we sing the one Walt made on the way over.
Yeah. You got your
he refers to it as a jazzy tune.
That's
the guy doesn't know anything about jazz. Doesn't know nothing about jazz.
Yeah. You got your cousin with his MacBook on a folding table right by the drum, recording on GarageBand
with his Yeti mic that he owns on Hawk from his nephew that wants to be a YouTuber.
That's a true story, man.
No, that's clearly a chicken dance song, right?
Oh yeah, pretty certain.
Clearly,
certain.
I mean, chicken dance songs really just come from that greater grass dance style of singing.
Yeah, you think so?
Well, it's the same cadence, the format. Yeah, it's all born out of that, man.
All right. I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm trying to be positive here. Okay, trying to be positive. Don't attack me.
I would say certain tribes or certain groups of people perfected a subgenre within the grass dance style of singing.
Yeah.
And then we would call that like who is it? Who are we talking about here?
You got it. Get it?
I don't know. Like I don't know what I'm saying. Certain groups can sing chicken dance songs better than others because that's their thing.
Yeah.
Like Little Otter with side steps, right? It's like their thing. That's their thing.
Yep.
All right. All right.
Do you concur, Walt?
I concur.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we got a
It's like Battle River.
Yeah.
I always bring up Battle River, dude. I don't know what they do, like the way they drum. Sorry. It's badass. There's something about it, dude. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's pretty nuanced though in singing because if most people heard High Noon and then most people heard Battle River, they'd be like, oh, they sound good, but they're very different.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. We said
that.
I'm sorry.
You should be. But no.
I'm so stupid. All right. What are we talking about?
No, I don't know yet. But we got somebody here who's kind of got some experience in a lot of things. We just learned about his basketball win. His basketball career spans many decades. Did you play basketball in Head Start? Did you play at Head Start basketball, Walt?
Earliest memory I can remember, and I have to reflect on my memory, probably like 1986.
Holy cow.
So I was 3 years old. I can remember being.
I was -2. You were 3?
I was 3. I can remember going to the old Fraser High School gym.
Yeah.
When they had tournaments and such over there.
Yeah.
I remember watching my dad and my uncles play.
Yeah. Them little itty bitty shorts.
Yeah, and they had the long span. That's when spandex first came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I remember that.
Itty bitty shorts over spandex.
Yeah, because one of my uncles came out in spandex thinking that's how you're supposed to wear. He didn't wear shorts over the spandex, and he was warming. My dad had to tell him,
my God.
You're supposed to wear shorts over those. And he said, "Oh, really?" He went back into the locker room. But no, I remember that old high school gym in Fraser, and those old school backboards, where they were rounded, not square.
Yeah.
I remember those.
Yeah. Looked like the back of a high chair or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
Well, you dated yourself by even saying what kind of the high chair, like the back of the high chair. I picture those metal ones. Remember those metal ones where you used to slide the tray out?
Oh yeah. The kid jam his finger in there, They're dangerous.
Yeah. I used to get myself out of the high chair because of the buttons underneath on the sides.
Yeah. So this is the thing. This is what I'm curious about. And I was thinking about this and pulled some information. There's not a lot of great information that you find published about fancy dancing. You just can't find it. It's not something that people write about, I guess. And I found this thing. It says it suggests that the historical record demarks the fancy dance starting in the late 19th century. Apparently, the Wild West shows in Oklahoma was trying to get the Indians to dance a bit more fancy. They didn't want to see the old dances of the plains. They just wanted to fancy it up for the audience. And I know you are have a long history in this style of dancing. What have you heard about this? The beginning, the origin of the fancy dance.
The origin.
Yeah,
that's a tobacco question. Hey.
Oh,
Just kidding.
I don't know. You're a tobacco question.
We'll get an Uber Eats to get you stop over at the 7-Eleven and deliver you a pack of smokes. Yeah.
No, the when fancy dancing, how it evolved, evolved from when we did have those Wild West shows, the Buffalo Bill Cody. There's a lot of things that stemmed from those things, and my great grandfather, Peter Eli, RunsAbove, he was a trick roper in Buffalo Bill Cody's show.
Yeah.
And then Irontail, who is RunsAbove's dad. So it goes Irontail, RunsAbove, and then Peter Eli, and then my grandpa, then my dad. They were all a part of the Wild West show, Buffalo Bill Cody and Irontail. So there's a lot of these stories that come from the Wild West show, talking about how basically kind of Irontail was the right hand person to Buffalo Bill Cody.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like one of the first native liaisons, like how we have nowadays.
Yeah.
The
handler.
So the handler, and he was the expert, But they would go, to these reservations when they were established. They first established these reservations a long time ago, and entertainment value. They looked for the songs, they looked for the dancing, they looked for like the regalia, they looked for uniqueness. They're looking for those things, and then they would invite them out. They would have these dance competitions, and these, they would who had the stamina, who who could dance the hardest, and who had the moves, a lot of different things. And so, down in the earlier days, for the history of fancy dancing, that came out of the Oklahoma area. With the Ponca tribes, the southern tribes down there, when they had, the Haskell institution held the first annual fancy dance contest, and they said that whoever was going to win this, their tribe can claim, those that fancy dance championship. They can claim it for their own. And Gus McDonald was one of the first ones, or one of the first ones to win that. And so they brought that back, to the Ponca people. And so every year since then, they had a trophy. They have world champions of dancing, down in the Ponca area.
Yeah.
And I've always heard these stories like this, and then there's always I've heard of other people that I've looked up to that, at these powwows, growing up, when I grew up, in the 80s and the early 90s, there was a lot of dancers that came through, Montana area, back before like the casinos really took off.
Yeah.
Back before when the bigger now you have the California circuits and all these casino circuits and such. But back when it was springtime college powwows, and then June came, and you had your Highline powwows, all that. But the bigger, when these big powwows would come, the bigger powwows, like around, say, like Newtown area, like Newtown, Little Shell, Hinckley started getting up there, Prairie Island, like these places like that, Rocky Boy. I remember we would always wait until Rocky Boy came around, because that's when, you saw the Southern dancers. Or if you went to Little Shell, you saw these Southern dancers come up. And so then you became a fan, like you became, you were in awe of a lot of these dancers. And so one of the things that always stuck out was the rocker. They had the rocker on top, the two feathers on top, and it just goes to the movement of the song, the speed of the song. And so a lot of that kind of all goes back to history, the hackle feathers, the eagle bustles, all of that comes back into the history of how it used to be in the old, the Wild West shows. Because from the stories that were shared with me from my dad to, his dad to his grandpa, and, a lot of these people that were in these shows, they would do these high jumps and these high kicks, and in like reenact a battle, or those kinds of stories. And so in a way, from where we come from, like on my Ogallala side or my Northern Cheyenne side, there's these dog soldier stories, and Cheyennes were pretty well known back at those times for dog soldiers, being dog soldiers. And so sometimes, like my some gentlemen that I look up to, like one of them is Dwight White Buffalo.
Yeah.
And I just remember his rocker, like it was like afterburner rocker, it just was always moving. And that's what was cool, like.
Yeah.
And so I remember talking to him a lot. I remember Damon Brady was probably one of the first Northern dancers that I saw with a rocker, because normally you never really saw Northern fancy dancers with rockers. They always wore spinners. And so I remember always, and then RG Harris, and Joel Boynty, and then I saw the late Todd Red Bear have a rocker, and but I always saw like these other Northern dancers with spinners. And so my first question was, what's the significance of the rocker?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's, it's just a way to show the speed, your agility, your timing, your quickness. And it's just the way, it's a way, it's not it, and it helps the dancer, but it's the flair from the rocker. And how it goes along with the song, the rocker and the songs, the original polka songs, they intertwine, they go with each other. And so that was the first question, was the rocker. And so with it came all this history about the Ponca stories, the Ponca songs, not just there, but like the Kiowa stories, the Kiowa songs, and a lot of these things like that. And so and just like when you dance to, like men's traditional, when they dance, and they have these songs, these word songs, or these particular songs, and I hear some stuff, and I want to, so I'll ask, and I had the greatest teacher, one of the best singers, in a father, my late father, Bill. So I would ask him questions about certain songs, certain things. And up here in the Northern country, we had necklace breakers, and then I realized how lucky I was, because I had eagle whistles, eagle whistle uncles, and they would tell me all these different. One of my uncles, late Alex Gwynn, my other uncle, late Dean Fox, and then my uncle Wade Baker, but they would sing all the time. They'd sing not just necklace breaker songs, they would sing these foot slide songs with words in them. They'd sing these just regular intertribal songs with words in them. So it was always I always made it a point to ask, what am I dancing to, or what are these words that are in these songs? And then the encouragement of like learning language, and not only are you learning, like the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota songs, you're learning Hidatsa songs, you're learning Rikara songs, you learn all these different meanings behind these songs. And by knowing those things, it makes you dance differently.
Yeah.
It makes you move differently, because it just has that, it adds to what you're trying to do, it adds to your talent, I guess.
Yeah.
And so with origination of fancy dancing, or the beginning, and how it came about through that fancy dance contest down in Haskell, and Ponca putting on all these championship year after year. And you go to, as a fancy dancer, even though it's originated down from the south, it eventually evolved through time, and it came up here, it made its way up here to the northern countries, or the northern country, I should say, Canada area, North Dakota, Minnesota, Montana, Idaho. And so there's a lot of cool fancy dancers that came from out of nowhere, and they became idols to us younger generations, like we got to see the late BT Bear's Tail, late Tony Brown, late Rainbow Azure, Stan and Luke Whiteman, Alvin Windy Boy, my dad danced fancy. I never got to see him dance, but I heard some pretty cool stories about how he used to dance down here in the Lame Deer area and around Montana area, so but when the Southern boys would come up, it was a sight to see, because then you heard different songs, you heard the different kind of singing. And that's what was really cool, because you go to these powwows and you saw R.G. Harris, Joe Bointy, Dwight White Buffalo, Henry McClellan, late Billy McClellan, Akabu, Norman Newrider. Cool nickname, Akabu.
Yeah, what is that? That's like a sushi roll, I think, is that?
It's a lot of these dudes have some, had some real cool names, and so he grew up idolizing these guys, because everybody that I mentioned, and there's a whole lot more that I looked up to, over every state. It seemed like every state, every reservation had their dude, they had their guy. And then when they would all come together, I remember in Rocky Boy when they first had Northern Fancy and Southern Fancy, and there was a lot of dancers, I think there's like about 50 dancers. And so I remember the Northern Fancy, they get their trick songs, from either Mandaree, Eagle Whistles, whoever was the Northern drums at that time.
Yeah.
And then the Southern drums, like you heard them, like the Rose Hills and the Kozads and the Yellowhammers, the Gray Horse singers, like a lot of those guys would come out, the NQ brothers. And so as a young kid, it was awesome to stay up till like 3:00 in the morning, stay up late and watch these fancy dancers kick it out, and dance to 3 or 4 songs, and they had the big heavy bells, the sounds of the bells going to the songs, you could just hear that, and it was really awesome. And I was never disappointed anywhere I went growing up. I was never disappointed, because you saw, like I said, the Damon Brady's, the Todd Red Bears, the Wade Keeps Eagles, all these cool Northern cats. And I remember this one, late Philip Caillou, his nickname was Smiley. It seemed like everybody had a cool nickname. But
what's your nickname?
I don't have one.
Just don't want to say it.
I don't have one.
Don't have one in Montana.
Don't have one in Montana. Yeah.
Oh, you keep going.
Anyways, late Philip would he would dance in Northern Fancy. He would be in a Northern Fancy, and then he would exhibition with the Southern Fancy. And holy smokes, that was really something to see. That was a sight to see. And I can remember just going back to the camp and just pumped up and trying to imitate what I saw. Because that was the other thing too, is that everybody had their own style, everybody had their own look, and they made it work for them, and it was really cool to see that. So but fancy dance wise, it's the Southern dance, and it deserves to be treated and shown with respect, because there's a lot of people that that they don't they jump in the pool without asking if the water's cold or hot or how deep it is, or what's in it, that's how I kind of compare it to dancing, and with my own son, if he wants to know something, I'll tell him to go check out or go ask certain people if I see them there, so like Michael Roberts has been really influential, not on just my young life, but with cactuses, because he's a pretty cool dude, and he shares a lot of that fancy dance wisdom, that dancing wisdom, I guess you could say. And so one of the cool things that I learned in my young life was the Ponca trip. I started paying more closer attention on dancing a certain way, using your rocker, things like that. And so one of the things, like I remember some, like my dad would say, if you want to something, or if you want something done, do it yourself, that kind of a thing, or go ask questions, seek out those answers yourself, and so, like I said, when I started with the rocker, I learned about the rocker. I asked, he would be like a distant relative, but we are related. But Dwight White Buffalo, I asked him about his rocker, and so he showed me how to make it. He talked to me. He's telling me about dog soldier stories. He's really sharing a lot of cool things like that, and then telling me about different songs and what certain songs mean, and how to go about dancing to them, and how he dances and such. And so but I remember in 1989, I can remember people's rockers. I don't know why, just their bustles, their look, I can remember that. But and then they had their dance whistle. Everybody had a dance whistle. And so with the fancy dancing piece, I asked Dwight about Uncle Dwight about his rocker, and he shared with me all that information. And then I took it a step further, and I just asked him, I said, and can I start making these? And then he said, yeah, make your own rocker. If you can make your own rocker, that's step one, kind of a thing, and and then the other questions were about the songs. Ponkas have some really cool songs with Ponca words in them, and a lot, and then not just those word songs, but just the straight songs. There's a lot of stories that come with the straight songs, and then the ruffles. The ruffles is what's really cool, because like nowadays, like when you see fancy dancers dance to a ruffle, like they're running all over the floor. It turns into a track meet, it turns
you see some karate kicks in there too, right?
Yeah.
Some crane kicks.
Hey, let's leave the karate kick alone.
Oh, okay. That's a sanctioned move.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, and it turns into a 4x100 relay out there. It turns into long jump, high jump. It's just a one big track meet. But with the ruffling of the song, it's you ruffle your feathers, you're ruffling your body, and then you're ruffling your rocker, and then when a song takes off, then your body goes with that song, your rocker goes, and it's kind of like imitating how a horse, when he gets up from the ground and he shakes his shoulders, he shakes his head, his mane, whips his tail around, kicks his legs in the back, because he just got, getting off the ground. If you ever watch those horses do that, and so that's kind of like what it's imitating is that horse. And then that first song, the first verse, it kind of goes smooth, and that's that trot of that horse. And then it ruffles again, and that second one comes, and then by the time it gets to the end, that horse is in full blast, like ears straight back and running. So it's kind of imitating. That's the story behind it. It's like the speed of a horse. So that was shared with me by my uncle. He took me as his relative, Henry McClellan. He shared that. He shares a lot of stuff with me, and I really appreciate that. And so that was when a lot of people talk to me about or ask me questions about my rocker, and it's one of the most important things that you need when you're dancing as a fancy dancer, is the rocker. And like I said, it's a Southern dance. It's a Southern, it made its way up here. And so I learned how to make these, and that's one of the make a rocker. And so one of the cool things was that the style that Dwight showed me, who made his rocker, was one of the all-time fancy dance champions, and late Billy McClellan. And so when I learned how to make this rocker, and I made so many of them now that I can, it's pretty, it's just like putting on a shoe, I guess. It's pretty easy. And but every time, I remember when Uncle Dwight first told me about the Billy McClellan story and his rocker, and how he made his rocker for Dwight. And I thought that was really cool because Uncle Henry took me as a relative. And I told him that whole story. And so I said, I'm kind of making a design of Billy McClellan rockers, and he kind of still living on, like that legacy still living on. And so I made a rocker for Uncle Henry, and and I put feathers on it and everything, and I gave it to him, as a way of, and a means of giving back to that McClellan bloodline, it's just the respect that I have for that bloodline and Uncle Henry, so that was the idea. And then from there, I was always getting invited to Ponca. And I don't know how long now, but the last 12, 13 years, I've been getting invited down to Ponca Pawa. Never had a chance to go, because we were always doing something. We were always either at Indian Relay singing for horses, or we were always doing something else, And so finally last year, 2022, we made it down. Me and my son, we drove down to Ponca together. And all the way down, we are just listening to Ponca songs. There's a CD, there's a recording called, excuse me, there's a recording called The Contest Is On. And it has all the Ponca songs. It has all the, the straights, the ruffles, the word songs. And during all these times, being invited down here and learning about, all these different songs that they sing in Ponca, what they mean in Ponca. One of my favorite ones is when they sing about Sinte Glishka. In the Poncas, the Sioux come running up on the Poncas, and the Poncas were up on a hill, and the Sioux were kind of down below, and the war chief of the Ponca challenged the Sioux and they were calling them Shazingas, which in their language it means little Sioux. They were like teasing them, taunting them because they were up on that hill. They looked tiny as they were looking, so they were calling them Shazingas, and they're saying, little Sioux, come up here and send your bravest warrior, send him with his spear and his shield, and we'll fight on this yellow bluff. So the one that answered the call was Sente Glishka, Spotted Eagle, and he went up and fought, and he ended up dying on that yellow bluff or that yellow hill. And so they sing that song, and me being Lakota,
heavier.
Yeah, but that's one of my favorite songs to dance to, and then they have the other weird songs. But see, like, we have songs about them too, like we have these songs about them, these necklace breakers.
Yeah.
And so you learn all these different songs, and it just has a deeper meaning to dancing, you know, and you have a deeper understanding, a deeper appreciation, for the knowledge to sing, because a lot of these songs, they come from that 19th century, they come from a long time ago. So, and then on the northern side, with these necklace breakers that Eagle Whistles made famous, they a lot of those songs come from that June 25th 1876 fight, like a lot of that, and from that era, and so it's kind of cool to see and hear these songs still being sung today. And but when we made it down to Ponca, I was so excited to be there.
First time
ever in my whole life. And as a dancer, you dance at Rocky Boy, or you dance in Red Bottom, Brockton, Crow Fair, Arlee, Lame Deer, Mandaree, Little Charlotte. You dance at these places like this where people committee members take care of the arena, like that community that takes care of that arena. As a dancer, like I don't know how it is with other dancers or singers or what, I don't know if they look at it as, oh, I'm just going to this, I'm going to Fort Belknap to dance, that kind of a thing. But for me, every time, like if we're going to a powwow, I always think about the power that resonates from that floor. And when it's woken up, when that dancing ground, when it's woken up, it brings another energy, to myself. I mean, that's what I look for. And then the songs, of course, the singers, they bring their songs, and then the bells of the dancers, the laughter of the talking of people, jingle dresses, the sounds, it just brings it all together. I felt some of my favorite places to dance, has always been Red Bottom, Lame Deer, and Crow Fair, because of the power that comes from that dance floor. And that's what I cherish, is every year. And it's addicting, like you want to dance on that floor because of what's on that floor, what's there, and so I thought I would never feel like that kind of feeling. But when we got to Ponca, me and my son, we weren't even we didn't know like the protocol, I guess, like because down there it's different, so different. They don't have the grand entries; they just have those call-in songs, and then everybody boom is just And I think that's awesome, because nowadays everybody needs a grand entry to get going.
Yeah, we'll celebrate anything with a grand entry these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that down there, like they just have these calling songs, and people come to the arena, then they sing their songs, they sing them, like 4 songs at a time, then they do whatever, contest or whatever. They have their they dance in the evening time, but they do their gourd dancing, they do all their giveaways, their honor, all that during the day.
Yeah.
And then nighttime is just dancing, and it's kind of a cool setup how they have it. And but when we stepped foot on that, when you first drive in, it has a picture of Gus McDonald, the world champion fancy dancer. Most Ponca world championship of dancing. And man, that's like, that gave me goosebumps when I saw that. And so we got ready. We went to the hotel first. Kind of a rookie mistake, but we went to the hotel first. And we took all of our stuff off, and they're like, "Oh, we'll just go check out the powwow for the night, check it out." And when we get over there, we've seen, man, they had the fancy dancers on the outside. We saw Pete Moore, Junior, I do believe it was, and we saw him. He was just dancing stationary on the outside. And then you saw Greg Victors, who was 2021, I do believe, world champion fancy dancer. And then these other fancy dancers just standing on the outside. And Cactus had a cool analogy metaphor about what he saw. Is like, man, these guys are like samurais, just standing there, revering them, And so when they came off, it was kind of early in the evening too, and Pete seen us, is, "Hey, you guys made it down." I'm like, "Yep." One of the guys that always invited me to Ponca, "Where's your stuff at?" And I said, "It's at the hotel." And he said, "Dang, go get it." So we had to go all the way to the hotel, grabbed our stuff, came back, and we got ready really fast. And man, we got out there, we were dancing, and holy smokes, that feeling of stepping onto that dance floor, that feeling is very much indescribable. Lots of juice, lots of power. Man, it felt so good. I've never danced other places you dance at, you find the potholes, or you find the gopher holes, but over there it was smooth. There was no holes, there was no nothing. And
flat,
no
flat. Uphill.
nothing just, it was just perfect.
No popcorn.
Yeah, nothing. Not even a piece of fry bread.
No old napkins or fry bread laying around.
But yeah, it was really that my first experience, my first impression of that dance floor was just like, holy smokes, it just blew me away. And so I remember reaching down just to touch it to see if it was real, and so we danced our inner tribals, we danced, and then we went and sat on the benches that are just right at the edge of the dance floor. And so one cool thing that really happened was we were sitting there, and I met up with Uncle Henry McClellan. He was sitting there with me, and we were visiting. Man, I'm glad you made it down, nephew. Talking like that, and the announcer started talking. He said we have some visitors from Montana, kind of talking out to the people, and they've come to learn our style of dancing, the fancy dancing. And then he went off into the history of it, and talking about the history of fancy dancing. He goes, and he said, but we'll get into that. We'll get into more of that on Sunday. He goes, but right now, he goes, and then he says, over here, and he introduced Greg Victors, who was the previous year's fancy dance champion. And it was like he was introducing us to him. He acknowledged him like that, and then he calls on the center drum. He says, "Center drum." He said, "Give it to them." And started drumming like that, and he started singing the song, and Michael Roberts was with us, and he just popped his whistle, like he just blew his whistle, he just popped it, and that was like boom, everything I could ask for in a dance, in a song, in my regalia, and experiencing that for the first time with my son, and my son being 19, and that's how long it took me to get down there, so then we went on, went through the weekend, and I was really lucky, really fortunate and lucky, because I was just enjoying the songs. It was the real deal, like the real stuff. And it wasn't a throw together group singing an old standby fancy dance song, like what we get up here in northern country, It was the real stuff. And so on Sunday, I was really lucky. I got third. And what I liked about it, I guess, the only Southern dancer that was there that got in the top four, was Michael Roberts. My younger brother, Mitch Baker, he got second. And then my nephew, or he would be like a cousin, I guess, but my little nephew, Silas White Buffalo, which is his dad is Dwight, so he's half from down there, and Silas grew up in Minnesota. So yeah, there was a lot of talk that Northern boys came down, and first time in the history of Ponca that 1, 2, and 3, I guess Northern boys were in there. That's what was being shared with me. But
bring the trophy back.
Yeah. but I could, like I was telling everybody else, I could really care less about the placing. It was just the fact that I made it to the solo rounds, and the fact of just dancing in Ponca, on that Ponca floor, and the people that I danced for, like Uncle Henry McClellan, Pete Moore, Pat Pacheco, Edmund Navajo, a lot of these, and then Norman Newrider, Akabu. It was very, very satisfying.
Yeah.
So after everything, after it was all said and done, I think we stayed there after the pow was over, the dance was over. We stayed there late, like probably about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. We were parked right next to my nephew Silas, and it was really cool to watch him go through his emotions. It was surreal. It was pretty surreal moment for him, and for myself, like it was kind of cool to see that and just to relate like that. So all of that, everything I just talked about is leads up to that fancy dance, all of the stories like that. So if you're going to be a fancy dancer or just a dancer in general, just like I always encourage people to learn the history of it, learn the histories of it, because there's many histories. There's a lot of histories that come with every song, every dance, every movement. There's a lot of stuff that come with it.
A lot to it. Man, you shared with us a lot. Holy cow. That was pretty cool. Pretty good to know. There's a few things I want to kind of walk back just to get some clarification on, just for the listeners to know. these songs that you call the necklace breaker. Describe what that is so people can kind of get an understanding of what that is.
So these necklace breakers, these songs, we have our four verse songs, but it goes with the beat, the way the beat goes with the song. And there's from what my dad has, and I have a lot of his old tapes. I have a tape where he's getting all these information from like Howard Badham, another well-known singer, but getting the information of like where it comes from and the dialect, what's being said in the song and all that. But these necklace breakers they're pretty much known for trick songs, just to try to trick you, but not a deliberate made up stop. It was just a stop, it was just the style back then, with eagle whistles. It was just a style. Their style of singing. And so when they would sing their necklace breaker stops. They would stop in the middle of the song and then they stop at the end. At the end of the second verse and at the end of the fourth verse. So they started calling them 2 and 4, necklace breaker stop. So
where did the term necklace breaker, like, what does that mean?
So Uncle Dean Fox, late Dean, crazy when you're around your bros, your brothers, your colas or whatever you deem your brother, there's the craziness of it, And anyways, one of the stories that I heard, that kind of came from Uncle Dean Fox, because like I said, back in the 80s, they sang all these songs, they sang all these weird songs like that. Anyways, when they were teasing each other that, cause they were a drum group of dancers as well. Uncle Wade and, Uncle Murphy, Uncle Seymour, they were all fancy dancers and grass dancers, and so when they would sing these songs, they were teasing because Uncle Dean said that he was always teasing everybody. He's quite the jokester, but he was teasing Murphy that he was wearing what do you call it, a choker. And they rocked him, in that 2 and 4, they're coming like that, and they hit they hit at that fourth verse, they stopped short, and he went, and it was just perfect timing, or like the right moment, or it was that kind of a thing where Uncle Murphy's choker, like, he stopped short and his choker come flying off. and back in those days, anything falls off, they pick it up and walk off the floor, And so Uncle Dean got a hold of that, and he started calling it, necklace breaker. He started teasing, man, your necklace broke. Well, we rocked me, necklace broke, and so that's kind of like, that's what I was told, after Uncle Alex Gwynn, late Uncle Alex.
That's a good one. Well, what about Goose there? Hey, Goose, you got any questions?
Yeah, Goose is pretty quiet.
I know Goose is pretty quiet. You're Goose.
I have to confess something.
Okay. What's your confession?
I bit my tongue yesterday. It hurts, man.
You DTing or what? What's going on?
It's a long story. I'm in Bismarck, North Dakota, in a hotel room. I just don't think I can take it anymore. No. So it's making me every time I talk, it hits my tongue. It hurts.
Rattle your tongue.
I think it's a sign that I need to shut up. Shut up, Aaron. No, I liked it. It was good.
Yeah.
It takes you're making our podcast pretty easy for us today.
Yeah.
It's nice. And it's cool because I was never a fancy dancer, but you hear like parts of stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to like just the biggest thing I got out of it was how important origin is,
Yeah.
Sometimes we mess with things or we do things, and it's important to go to like the origin of it and like ground yourself in it.
Yeah.
And if that dance belongs to the Ponkas, like you're saying, like shit, you went to Mecca, man. I mean,
yeah. Touch the stone.
You touched the stone, man. You walked around that thing.
yeah. That's awesome.
It's important. It's important.
Yeah,
it's good. To me, it's a part of like acknowledging something. Like I'm a big fan of citation. If you use something, you cite where it comes from.
Yeah.
So I'm not against borrowing things and how tribes use things and all that. I'm not against that, but if you're gonna do that, you have to cite it.
Yep.
That's where it comes from. And so it's cool. Because if anyone knows Walt, we were teasing about basketball, but I knew him more as a fancy dancer.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole nother like basketball world that people know him as, but I never even met Walt, the basketball player.
Yeah. I don't know that guy too much either.
Don't even know him. I don't even want to know him.
I don't want to know him, yeah.
I feel like he borrows money.
Walt, the basketball player, he owes me a lot of money.
Hawk things. He wants to hawk things to me all the time.
I got this AC unit. You need one?
I got a little story I gotta say about Walt. He bailed me out of something recently that he probably doesn't even know he bailed me out of.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. This is gonna be a little like self-reflective, okay? So bear with me.
Okay, wait. Yeah, let's get in the mood.
Okay.
Get in the mood.
So I don't
wait, I'm not in
anymore.
The mood yet. Wait. Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So I don't drink anymore, and it's been a few years since I've drank, and it's really important to me. Okay, but every once in a while, you gotta like manage. I gotta manage like my own self-awareness and where I'm at, and kind of what the vibe is, and if I know that vibe can lead to certain things, I'll bail on it. I'll just be like, all right, I'm gonna take off. Well, we're at a round dance. And it just so happened that the group of people that were there were some of the same people I used to kind of cat around with, And so we're sitting there, and it's fine. It's fun and games. I mean, shit, we were laughing our asses off, but then the vibe for me changed because I could see and kind of feel people like planning the night.
Oh yeah.
What are we gonna do after? And it was pretty tempting to me. Like I was like, that feeling of kind of that, like, well, that feeling, Shandin. I know you. And Walt, you never drank, right?
No.
Yeah. So
he's never had the horns break the skin.
No, that's good. That's awesome.
That's good. Yeah.
And so
I've had the horns breaking out. Yeah, break the skin. Yeah.
So I just was like, I'm gonna bail on this. Yeah. But I knew if I grabbed my drum and walked out, it would be like a thing. Where are you going? Blah, blah, blah. So I just had my drum there. I told Walt, I'm gonna go use the bathroom, but I'm taking. You remember me telling you I'm taking off?
Yeah.
And then I said, can you just take my drum with you? And so I did. I just walked out, and I didn't go back. And a couple of days later, he met up with me. But just that little bit of like knowing it was like, okay, if I tell these guys down here, it's not gonna go over the same way.
Yeah.
If I tell these guys down here, it's not gonna go over the same way. Walt's standing right next to me. We're talking shit all night. It's awesome. And I'm just like, I didn't even really have to say anything. I don't think I explained it, did I?
Nope.
I just said, I'm gonna take off, but I'm gonna leave my drum here. And then I just left. I just like snuck off, and I got my drum later, not knowing that that was a pretty big favor to me. So thank you.
Yeah.
Did you hawk it? Did you hawk his drum?
He texted me the next day and he said, "Bring my drum over here. I'm over here at our brother's house." And
I'm passed out over here.
He didn't even say hi. He just wanted his drum back.
Wow, you heard how that drum sounded.
That's a good drum.
You know who made that drum?
Who?
Shandin Pete, right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now you can tell. Yeah.
Dude, it's a sweet sounding drum, man. It's a sweet sounding drum, dude.
Is it still holding up?
Oh yeah. It's
nice.
Yeah. Still responsible for a lot of relationships.
Ooh.
Ooh. Broken ones or what?
Both. All sides of the destroyed and mended. Myself included.
It's the knife and the bandaid both. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, Walt. I value my sobriety a lot, and I'm selfish with it. So you made it pretty easy to just sneak off, and because if someone wasn't there that I trusted my drum with, man, I'm not saying it would have got that far, but if it really had that feeling of like, man, this is like the feeling that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but I knew Walt, it wasn't going to end up at Western Pond. Walt, the fancy dancer. Walt, the basketball player. That sucker's gone. Yeah. That drum is gone.
It's at the hawk shop, or it's on the kitchen floor with the Kool-Aid spilt on it.
Well, it was like, okay, so you got the fall California Power Circuit, or you got the spring Indian basketball tournament. We're in the fall. He was in Montana. I knew he wasn't in California. He wasn't going. So it was like, well, I'm good. I'm safe.
It's a safe bet either way.
That's a safe bet. If it was tournament time, no. That's in my drum.
That minivan needs a new carburetor. Or needs a new something.
It's a new fuzzy dice.
Walt's one of them guys that says he won them when he plays basketball. You ever hear
how we won them?
Say, they're just jealous because I won them. When he come back from Oklahoma, he said, "Man, I almost won them."
Pretty good. No, man, but this was the perfect example right here of like Aaron said, like citation. This is a good example of like, you know what these indigenous academics call indigenous research. You know, it's this deep understanding of something that can be recited. You know, you got the dates, you got the people, and you got the context. You got all in one. And then you don't need to write a paper about it. You don't need to publish a book. It serves a different purpose. And a couple of those purposes you sort of mentioned there, and one really, really important one that Aaron reflected on too, and that's this idea, you know, this authority of the things that we do rests in really understanding the deep meaning of those things. I would always tell my kids, you know, they wanted to dance jingle, and I said, no, that's not really our way, you know. And if you do want to, seek somebody out and ask them about it that knows, so you can sort of gain an authority about it. So you're not just throwing on an outfit because you think it's trendy and cool or looks nice, that and I think that's really kind of what turns me off a bit about some of the powwow scene is that sort of and I wouldn't point the finger at anybody, but it's just this sort of unauthentic feel that you can get when you see people adopting a different style without really understanding or knowing about it. And like I said, to nobody's fault, it's just my own feeling about it. I kind of feel like I don't want to be part of that because it doesn't feel right.
I think you're right. I think you're right in the sense that, like, I think powwow is its own thing, and there is certain allowances with powwow, right? It's allowed certain freedom, but at the same time, because of social media, like, it's a lot easier for people to borrow. Where like Walt and I are the same age. We come from a time still where you had to like walk up to somebody and ask them, like, how do you do that? And that goes for anything. You want to learn how to use a hammer, someone's got to show you. There wasn't no YouTube video on how to mop a house or a floor. Not a house. Don't be mopping houses. Or you could, but so like it's timing too. Some of it's timing, and it's still coming from a time where you had to ask people things. But also, Walt's being pretty modest here. He's also the son of one of the most respected powwow men ever. So it's not like he's just a guy just kind of like trying to get into dancing. He comes from someone rooted in the traditions of powwow. So he's grounded himself. So then he's not going to raise this kid to be a beggar and a borrower, and then like he's going to do it right,
Yeah.
Which he did.
Yeah. Another interesting one too that kind of I feel criticism of is like the singing. I've been sort of turned off about singing, and I'm really stingy about who I'll decide to sing with.
Same.
For sort of that sort of reason, I and it's not, like I said, I don't want to fault nobody, but it's just me. I want to feel like I'm gaining something in a way, or that I feel like I'm not. I don't know. I got this weird thing that I don't want to damage myself by engaging in something that maybe is not quite in sort of a way that would benefit. I don't know, progress, or it's like it. I don't know how to describe it, but
well, I would think with you're literally a busy guy. So like your time that you can allocate to things, and as I've known you now for over 20 years, or about 20 years, probably 21 years.
It's our anniversary.
It's our anniversary. Oh my god!
Is it the crystal anniversary?
It's our beige anniversary. I would say that you're always about progression.
Yeah.
Just knowing you, it's always about progression. Even your recreation was progression.
Right.
It's everything. Because I've seen you mess with horses. I've seen you mess with singing, ceremony, like everything, language, everything, right? Academics, it's all progression. Everything's progression.
Right.
So I can see how somebody like you would say, okay, if I'm going to go sing, there's got to be some level of progression in it.
Yeah.
Some level.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that sometimes it's like a vast amount, but there's got to be a profit margin.
Yeah.
It can't just be like a throwaway weekend.
Right.
Where I'm a little more willing to throw away a weekend as long as it's fun with the right people. For me, it's more about if I'm going to sit at that drum for 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day, it's got to be with cool people, man. I just can't do it, man.
Yeah. I
almost don't sing anymore. Like, honest, like it's Walt don't call me. He's never called me. Not even for an honor song in Billings. It's like, come on, dude.
But you get the cakewalk call.
I used to be the round dance cakewalk king, and Walt don't call. He's like the Billings Indian, and he don't call. He's Billings' medicine man. And then now that Stanley Pretty Paint moved to Billings, these two, there's a spiritual battle happening in Billings. Those of us who know, we back off. We're like, we're not getting caught in the crossfire.
Getting that
the mojo crossfire.
No,
and they're both fancy dancers.
Oh.
And they were both. He was a ball player. I mean, there's a lot of parallels there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Step aside. My kid tries to walk by. Hey, go around. Go around.
Don't go around him close either. We'll go way around.
Hey, you get shy now, boy, and you go around him. You're getting away. This is a guy who named his son Cactus because he don't want no one to touch him. I do got to say something though about Walt.
Okay.
Walt is probably our first guest who's also a fan of the podcast.
Oh yeah.
He's a loyal fan of the podcast. In fact, I get a call last year on his way back from Oklahoma, right?
Yep.
Our Kansas
trip.
We were going to Durant and back.
Yeah.
Yep.
He listened to our podcast the whole way down or back, or what was it?
We got to, was it episode 21? And I think we came back and I think we're on episode 40. So, yeah.
So I get a call. I'm at Denver University and I'm in the middle of like this NAGPRA meeting that I'm at. And I was like, I'm going to answer it. So. And I just used it. And he's
pretty risky of you to answer it.
Well, you called me like the night. You called like the night before, then you called like the next day or something. Yeah. So I was like, I better answer this. Not knowing he's been driving like all night or whatever. So it was awesome. It was kind of cool because you don't often hear from people who like listen to your podcast or have comments.
Yeah.
Constructive comments about your podcast.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, there was I think we were coming through Nebraska, just outside of Nebraska, coming into Kansas was when I first called that first time. And then Aaron called me back when we were in Oklahoma, just outside of Ada, somewhere around there, and we were going through we were in a tornado.
But you had me on speaker and you were talking, and Cassie was like, he was like, what was I saying? And she would tell you like you were saying this or something, and it was cool. It was like we had a little breakdown session. Well, you tried to call him, didn't you? You tried to call Shandin.
Oh yeah, Shandin never answers.
No. Progression.
Yeah.
Progression.
We're on to the next thing.
Well,
nah. But you did text me.
He referred to you as Walter. So I was like,
Mr. Walter RunsAbove.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, thanks for that, man. That was awesome. So many things that I didn't know about fancy dance, and I could just appreciate the one comment you said about the singing. You know how when you dance, there's just those songs, those one songs that just you can't help it. You could just feel you'd want to dance to it. And there's some songs that sound good, but you got no interest in it. Yeah, you don't feel it. Yeah. And I see. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say I see a lot of that today, but what I'm curious of is really like this. You talked about some very deep meaning of these songs and their connection to the past and the language that's in them that tells the stories and I'm sure it goes way deeper than that. Do you see that a lot of that changed today from the music you hear, or is it just has it evolved, but still has sort of the same feel?
Growing up in the era that I grew up in, dancing, singing, with the singers, like Eagle Whistles, the Mandaree, Badlands, Porcupine. You know, there's a lot of these the songs that they have, you know, a lot of these trick songs or, you know, anything like that, you know, it was really cool to dance to that. And I think like more modern day now, I can remember Northern Cree when they first, I think it was back in 2004, somewhere around there. But I can remember they put out an album and they paid homage to Eagle Whistle singers about the necklace breaker style of song.
Yeah.
And they mentioned I think it was Leroy that made that song. And he talked about seeing my dad and late Uncle Merle, Seymour, Wade, Uncle Wade, you know, at Bismarck. And he referred to this recording that was put out by Featherstone. And that was the year that Eagle Whistles won United Tribes. But he talked about these particular songs. And so that's how he makes his trick songs, or his, you know, his tricky ones, his Northern Cree. That's how he makes them, was, you know, keeping the necklace breaker and Eagle Whistles in mind, you know. And so I remember that, and I remember showing my dad, you know, when he was alive, I remember showing him that CD, and inside that pamphlet, I had him read that, and you know, he liked that. He thought that was cool, you know, the way Leroy described them was that one, quote unquote, you know, they were like gods to me. That was kind of like that was kind of like in me not really understanding like the significance of that, you know, just the way they portrayed them as singers, or they portrayed their singing ability. Yeah. So I mean, that's, I always have, like with Northern Cree, you know, it's kind of like the same setup, the same style. The 2 and the 4 are the straight through and the stop at the end, you know. And so nowadays, you know, like you go to different powwows, you know, go to different regions, and you know, there's a lot of these newer songs, and I guess this, you know, this newer generation, they like these newer songs where there's about, you know, hypothetically there's about 20 stops in one verse, you know. And, you know, and it's like, how can you dance to something like that, you know?
Right.
Because, you know, the old cliche of it's between the dancer and the drum, you know, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But when really, you know, that drum spirit, you know, like you if you study up on your songs and you study up on all these trick songs and whatnot, you know, you come to find out pretty quick, like, you know, like what your style is, or what you prefer, you know, and like what you prefer to dance to, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And so modern day times, you know, like I try to share some stuff with my son Cactus, and try to share with him, sing him songs, and listen for this, listen for that kind of a thing, you know, because now in junior men's fancy, I'm in senior men's fancy. But because it seems like the older we're getting, it seems like we're getting like the standby songs. You know, like oh, these are senior fancy, or these are golden. That's and as arena director too, because I'm not just a fancy dancer, but when I run an arena, I always give our golden agers, or the senior dancers, I always give them some rocking songs, you know. I always want them to, because I want them to feel that, you know, to remember.
You don't give them the honor song.
Yeah, I don't give them
the death march.
Dude, I did that one time. I did that before. I know exactly what you mean. I got
you gave him the death
out,
march.
man. Dude, I did it. I just assumed old, we should sing slower. Dude, no, it was opposite. It's easier for them to dance to a fast, like a high medium beat, like kind of a constant.
Yeah.
You're just torturing them with this.
The death march.
With this horse shit.
I remember this one time I was running the arena at this powwow, and there was these golden age women dancers. There was traditional, there was a fancy shaller, there was a jingler, you know, and they got a really slow song. And that's the other thing too. I try to baby up our golden agers and their tiny tots. Like I'll try to get them done right away after grand entry, you know, so they can do whatever afterwards. But anyways, this golden age women category was dancing to a really slow song. You know, it was just slow, and of course, you know, the announcer, everybody all rise, please rise. So everybody suffering, you know,
everybody rise for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, literally, yeah. And holy smokes, you know, and then, you know, that really old. Then at the end, there's the tail. So we had to stand.
The tail for another 2 minutes.
And we got a tail.
And then so here these women, these old women were coming to get judged. And I remember I was lining them up like that, you know, good dancing lady, show your numbers, you know, and I went to the side, and that one lady, she said, hey, give us a better song. We ain't dead yet, she said. So I was made a point from that time on to give everybody a rocking song, you know, something that they can jam to and enjoy. And I think that's, you know, that's what's when it comes to the dancing piece, I think that's what's missing is our younger generation. They're just so, you know, they're tunnel visioned by that money aspect of it. You know, rather than, you know, and I hear this quite a bit. You know, I dance for my elders. I dance for the people that can't dance anymore. I hear that, you know, and I don't ever hear. I dance for myself because I enjoy it. You know, I don't ever hear that kind of an explanation. And it's always, you know, I dance for those that passed on, you know, that kind of a thing. And not saying that's bad, that's good, you know, that's good. That's the way they were taught, you know, but you're the one dancing, you know, like you're the one that's out there. And one of the things
you should like it. You should like it.
Yeah, you should enjoy it. Yeah. No, I don't like it. I'm just dancing for all these other people. Yeah.
Out here. Yeah. I got $5,000 beadwork on, and you know, I got all these wicked black and whites on, and but yet they're sitting in the car while intertribals are happening. You know.
Yeah. But the AC going.
Yeah, he's starting to sound like that guy now. Back in my day.
Yeah. Go up to the MC stand. I got something to say.
I'll defend this younger generation though. You don't have to dance to the drums they have to though. No, I'm just kidding. You come from a different time where it's like quality singing. Like I just thought of something. Walt was saying, I want to give everyone a rockin' song. What if you're the next drum group? You're the next group. And here comes Walt saying, telling the mic guy, doing this to the announcer. And they hear that drum group going like, damn, Walt he just slapped us. We just got slapped. We got skipped. He doesn't think we can sing a foot slide.
We can,
and he's probably right. He's probably right. That's the only thing I thought of. That's where my mind went in your very sincere monologue. I went straight to, oh damn, dude, that drum group just got passed, man.
Again.
Dude, we don't give second songs to them. They can have tiny thoughts. Oh.
Just kidding.
105 degrees out.
That's the whole thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Because we're soft.
Well, people were hard.
We're brittle. Like, we're soft and brittle, you know.
I came into the game
criticism.
late.
What?
No, you're right. I came into the game late, like the powwow world late. I didn't come from it. It just was something I wanted to do, and it was fun. And but I learned right away from some good people. Partly, I was raised by a strict dad too, so I knew how to get in trouble. Like I knew how to do it. But people were strict, man. You sang the wrong song, they would tell you. Like they would stop you even.
Yeah.
Like you're singing, your drum group singing, they would come over and they cut you off.
Yeah.
Like now everyone's got feelings and no one can take criticism. And it's like, I get that. We gotta support each other, but at the same time too, like if you're doing something wrong, you gotta be told it.
Yeah.
And if you can't take it, then you're in the wrong game, man.
Yeah. I remember they used to do that in Rocky Boy, maybe elsewhere too. But if they kind of got a rugged song, they just tell the dancers to take the circle, you know, let them finish their song. I remember that.
Yeah.
I always thought that was kind of rude, but then, you know, as I got older, I thought, well, it kind of makes sense, you know. It can be a motivator. It can be a motivator for that drum to say, okay, yeah, maybe we don't sound that great. Maybe we need some practice. Or it can be a demotivator and they say, well, let's just quit because I guess we're no good.
But if singing is something you take serious, you'll pout for sure. Because that's what we do. We're gonna pout.
We do
but
good
I guarantee you're gonna go and you're gonna learn the right stuff to sing at the right moment. You know.
Yeah.
Know your limitations too, man. Like go ask people, learn, you know.
Yeah. And it wasn't disrespectful.
And furthermore,
he's not done.
I'm just kidding, man.
But it was not disrespectful, you know. Nobody come over and just took your drum away, or you know, told you guys you know good, you know, made you stop singing. It just circle up dancers and let the drum finish their song, and then go to the next. I don't know.
Yeah,
as I get older, I get it.
Sometimes you hear it when you're dancing, you know, like if you don't have a very good song or whatever, and you're trying to dance and such, but sometimes you'll hear the announcer come over the PA saying, you know, so and so stand by, you got so and so, you know. So then as a dancer, you're like, oh, we're getting another song, so I'm just gonna slow down.
Save your energy a bit.
I've been at powwows where I've seen dancers make a drum group look good. Like they make it, and I'm like, oh, that drum group didn't do them guys any favors, man.
I'll share with you one of my favorite experiences. We were in Bozeman powwow a couple years ago, and you know, as a dancer, you know, like you can kind of pick up on the rotation going, or the drum circle going around. You know who you're going to pick, or you know who you're going to get, and all that. You know. Well, I think the boys were host drum that year, and they were getting every second song, and then they were going every first song. They were going around the drum wheel, right? Yeah. Well, I remember one of the another older fancy dancer. You know, he's well known around from Wyoming. He's well known from, you know, around powwow country. And but anyways, we're sitting here getting ready, you know, getting stretched out, you know, going through all these different things, and the fancy dancers just kind of come together. They're like, who do you think we can get for first song? You know, and it was right at the beginning of the drum rotation again, you know, going around the wheel. And pretty soon, you know, they were saying, oh, I think we're going to get this drum group. I think we're going to get this drum group. And we walk out there. All right, men's fancy, come on out to the arena. You know, we get invited out. We get out there, and I kid you not, it was Louis. Louis walks over us, and a well-known singer, lead singer. You know, he does a lot of Elvis impersonations. You know, he knows a lot of the old 49 songs, you know. And all he had was his hand drum. And the announcer said, you know, you want to, Louis, you want to take this song for the men's fancy? And in my mind, as soon as I heard them invite him to sing for men's fan, this is during finals of the powwow. This is the finals. As soon as I heard him invite that, my mind went right back to the original Nighthawk singers, that old Fancy That song that they used to sing. And I was like, man, I hope they sing that. I hope he sings that song. I kept saying that because it was a fun song to dance to. So here he says yes, you know, he shakes his head yes like that, and he hits his hand drum, boom, and then they put two mics on him. They put a mic on his hand drum, and then they put a mic on him. He was the only singer, and he was sitting there right by the boys. He was sitting there, and he hit his drum like that, and he starts singing that song, and he starts singing that song that I was thinking about, and I was like, whoa, I was happy, you know, I was blown away because this dude, he led and he seconded himself. And he said that for 4 starts, he did that 4 starts, and that beat was perfect Northern Fancy song, and I was loving it. And then we got our second song, you know, from the boys and such. And between the two, you know, in my opinion, I was like, that was a real song, you know, that was the real deal kind of a thing. That was, you know, from what I grew up dancing to. And so I really appreciated that. And I went up to him afterwards and I gave him some money. And I was just blown away. I was like, man, thank you for singing that song. You know, that was awesome. You know, and I think I gave him like $50. I think I had in my wallet at that time, but I enjoyed it, you know, and it was kind of crazy after we were lined up. Everybody was hollering for one more, you know. And of course we got one more. We always get one more, but after we were all done dancing, you know, a lot of the dancers that were out there, they were complaining about that first song. And I was like, that's you're never gonna like count your many blessings, because that's, you know, hopefully you'll dance to that kind of song again, you know. I really appreciated that. So that's kind of
from a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Louis is a Hall of Famer, man. Like he's there. He's on the wall.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was probably, out of all the years I've been dancing in Bozeman, that's my favorite song I ever danced to, you know, going dancing at that pop. You know.
Pretty good.
And Louis, for those that don't know, also claims to have a close relationship with Coach Bobby Knight.
Oh yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think at one time it was true. Like I think he really did kind of have a friendship with Coach Bobby Knight. Like you would end up there in Indiana at a Hoosiers game. It's so random. Like it's real random.
Yeah, that is.
But he plays. He can play the harmonica. He can play the guitar. He sounds just like Elvis. Like you know.
Yeah.
Hey, for people who don't know, remember that old documentary, the hand game documentary?
Yeah.
When they go to Crow, he's the guy singing. He's the guy they follow around. He's wearing the Crow guy. He's wearing like the basketball jerseys and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So if you YouTube it, just Crow hand game, this old documentary comes up.
You see him.
You'll see him. Yeah, he's the guy. He even plays music on there.
Wearing a Bulls jersey, or
his dad is one of the most respected singers ever. Cedric walks over the ice. Cedric walks over the ice.
Yeah.
Mountain Child, Awakam is what they call him. Awakam, but Nighthawk singers goes way back.
Yeah. Man, pretty cool. Well, this was a lot, man. This is a lot. This is 2 hours worth of material here. Man, that's going to be two packs of smokes.
Can you 2 vapes?
2 vapes. 2 vapes.
Remember last time we saw Walt on the screen with us for tribal research specialist?
Yeah.
It was him and his wife, and we were teasing him about his spaghetti. Was it spaghetti?
What was it?
Remember he had like a pot of something on the stove, and
yeah, in the background.
I was like, Indians, Rezzers only cook spaghetti, pork chops, hamburgers, our breakfast for dinner, tacos.
Oh yeah, you got to get the tacos in there.
Yeah.
Anything that you have to boil.
Boil all kinds of short ribs, whatever. But I was like, this guy made spaghetti night or something. Spaghetti night.
Yeah, that spaghetti was just going in too, ain't it? You could see it sticking out.
Cassie's in the background,
busting up the spaghetti.
Hand on her hip. She had her hand on her hip, just crabby.
That you just don't go in there. Like, go clean up the living room or something.
Just the way they set faucet, slam stuff.
I know.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Yeah, well, you'll have to tell her we said hi.
Yeah.
She'll probably be. She works from home. This is her workstation right here, and so she's always listening to the podcast, and
nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Awesome.
Good deal.
Cool, man.
Well, we ought to have her on next or some point. Get another good conversation going on. But yeah, there's a lot here to think about. I think there's so much. Man, my mind is blown on how little I knew of the fancy dance, You know a little bit growing up, but if you don't do it, and if you're not immersed in the right with the right people, you only get bits and pieces of the information. But I think some of the most important.
From our time, you just know Pancho Brady.
That's
that song.
Memorialized in the Southern song. Yeah, that's all we know. That's all we know. Yeah, but thanks for that, man. That's good. And I think, like you said, the take home message there is, you can't just jump into something. How did you say you can't just jump in without knowing what's in there? I can't remember what you said.
Yeah, just don't just jump into the pool without knowing how hot it is, how cold it is, how deep it is, or what's in it,
Yeah, that's good advice for anything. Any young man, young woman trying to get back into dancing, or even into it already now. Something to reflect on the way you do your things is it'll help us all out to advance what we're doing.
If you're a fancy dancer, go to Ponca. If you're a jingle dress dancer, go to the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
If you chicken dance, go to Standoff.
Yeah.
I guess Gleason probably, but Standoff. We could settle on Standoff.
They can start a fight, man.
Yeah, go up
that's
there.
That's unsettled. That's unsettled business.
Unsettled. Oh yeah, I know. You get okay. Round Bustle. If you're Round Bustle, you got to go to Arlie.
No,
Walpin.
No. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, not even Walpin it. You got to go to Lapway.
Did you say Dapway?
Lapway.
Oh.
No, I don't know. Oh, that's unsettled business. No, I'm just teasing. Thanks, partner.
I'm not trying to start fights, man.
We already did. It's too late. The fight is on. No, I don't know either. I don't know about none of these things. I just talk about them. But thanks, partner. We'll be back in touch, man. I have about a list of 20 questions I wanted to ask you based on what you said. So we'll follow up, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
For the record, we always say we're going to follow up with people. We've never done it.
Yeah.
So.
Just note that.
Okay.
You'll never appear on another episode. That's our kind of courtesy to say that.
We want you back.
Yeah. Hold your breath. No, seriously though. This is a good one. Good one. Lots taken. All right, partner. Thanks again. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, fellas. It's a good thing you guys are doing with this tribal research project, the podcast. It's beneficial for a lot of people, both native, non-native, both in the trenches and out of the trenches. It's really good information. So I appreciate what you guys do, and keep it going, keep rocking and rolling.
Okay, thank you for tuning in to this episode. I'm going to take a second here to recognize some of our sponsors, in particular, Travis Davis. Thank you, Travis Davis, for pitching in and continuing to help the show. Also, Luella Bryn, big thank you. Big thank you for continuing to support the work that we do. In addition, Dylan Shields, thank you. And then our other sponsors, we have Ryan Swanson, Jacob Knutson, Julian Peterson, Jason Friage, Heather Sabrepina, Emma LaFave, Amber Weaselhead, Rachel Holster, and Marzena J. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to stay on the air and continuing to support the work we do.